Senator John Thune is on the Senate Budget and Finance Committees. He joins us. Nice to see you, sir.
Good evening, Greta.
What do you make of the fact that there has been an enormous amount of money spent campaigning against Governor Romney on Bain Capital, and it seems that at least that almost nothing has happened? They're still neck and neck, Governor Romney and President Obama, in the presidential tracking poll.
It's good news for Mitt Romney. I think it's good news for the country. I think all the negative attacks that have been leveled against Governor Romney have not been effective. And I think that what that tells us is that the American people want the focus to be on jobs and the economy. And the sort of personal attacks going after Bain, going after Governor Romney's record, as a businessman, are not things that the American people are concerned with. They are concerned with what you're going to do to get the economy growing and get people back to work. And I think that's an area where the president really has come up short. He just hasn't laid out any kind of a positive agenda. And if you look at his record, he's made matters worse for most Americans.
If that's true, how come it sort of remains a tie for months? It's like, nothing seems to move these numbers at all, and the national number.
Well, I think that it's very tough to dislodge an incumbent. So it's always a challenge for a challenger to make an argument to people that they've got to throw out somebody that they voted for 4 years ago. But I think the American people have concluded that the president, with regard to his policies, has made the economy worse. He's made matters worse. I think they've come to that conclusion. I think the other thing about that USA Today Gallup poll that's really telling, and you always wage a campaign with a political landscape in the background, and there was a question that was asked with regard to the size of government, and 61% of the people said that the government has gotten too activist and is doing things that ought to be left to private individuals and businesses. That's the highest number that there's ever been since Gallup started asking that question in 1992. And I think that's a real problem for a president who has doubled down on government and has made really his calling card an expansion of the federal government at the expense of jobs in the private economy.
Well, I think what's sort of unusual about the numbers is that managing the economy, Governor Romney right now is basically it's 2-to-1 that he's ahead of them. They're tied nationally. President Obama, though, on the question of likability, he has the reverse numbers. It's that he's 2-to-1 on Governor Romney. So it almost seems like, since it's a national average is tied, is that the likable versus the economy. Which do you want? Someone you like, or someone you think can run the economy?
And I think people are really concerned about the future of the country and where it's headed. And they may like the president, but they don't think he's up to the job. They think he's in over his head. And they've had an opportunity to look at his 3.5 years now of his policies, which have made matters much worse. You still have 41 consecutive months of unemployment above 8%, 23 million Americans either unemployed or underemployed. And there's an enthusiasm deficit out there for the president. What this Gallup USA Today poll also said was, by a vote or by a margin of 51 to 33, Republicans and independent-leaning, or I should say Republican-leaning independents, are more enthused this year about voting than they are usually. And Democrats, on the other hand, only 39% are enthused, 43% are less enthused. That's a real problem, I think, for the president. The intensity factor is working right now against him.
Well, it's hard to find out what the independents are thinking, because if you call it, most people will say, well, I'm independent.
Right.
Because no one wants to say I'm biased one direction. Now, there's some people that want to sort of claim eight-party loyalty, but a lot of people sort of on the fringe in that middle area don't want to admit Republican or Democrat. Those are the people that we're having a hard time identifying what they want.
I think they're moving away from the president and have been for some time. Now, the national, if you do the ballot test on the national level, as you said, it's still very tight. It's a 1-point margin. Probably stays that way for a long time. But when you go sort of beneath that top line number and start looking into the finer points of the details of that poll, there are a lot of indicators there that if I were the president, I would be very concerned about. And
except for one thing, is that in some of those swing states like Indiana and Ohio and I think Virginia, is that they are all under the national unemployment level. They're below the 8.2% nationally. So that, sort of simmering behind the scenes that Governor Romney has to be concerned about is that those states at least seem to be on a trend that favors the president.
Well, and we all hope that in all states that the unemployment rate comes down, we get people back to work, and the economy starts to grow again. I think there are a lot of warning signs out there right now on the horizon, though, that that's not likely to happen. And if we wanted to see that happen, we ought to be working on things that actually have proven are effective at getting the economy growing again. And right now, everything that this president is doing and that his allies here in Congress are doing is making matters worse for most Americans.
I suppose he's also, what Governor Romney has to do is convince people the reason those numbers are below the national average is because they have Republican governors.
Well,
that
doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. No, he's going to have to use that one.
And in some states, that's true. I mean, you know, all these states are. In some states, you may have an explanation for it. North Dakota, obviously, we've got energy, and that makes a big difference. And in my state, we've had a good run with agriculture for a long time. It's kept the unemployment rate sort of low. But I think in a lot of states where you've had governors who've been very aggressive in trying to attract business, create a pro-business, friendly environment with taxes and regulations, you're seeing some results from that, and that's a good thing. And I hope more governors and more states try it, and I hope that we get a president that will do it here at the federal level.
Senator, thanks, sir.
Thanks, Greta.